Dave Penny might have been a great player for Rovers, but the oldest player to play for the club is one John Ryan. In 2003, the chairman got the chance to fulfil a boyhood dream.
Not bad. I always wanted to play for Doncaster Rovers. It was a boyhood ambition, and I suppose being chairman and by that time owner of the football club, I suppose Dave Penny probably wasn't ecstatic about it, but he realised that it was really half publicity stunt and half me achieving ambition. I was desperately trying to get Doncaster Rovers on the map with the media because no one was really interested in us at all. The only media interest in Doncaster Rovers was bad media. You know, the stand's been burnt down, the ex-chairman's been sent to prison, this sort of thing. And it was a meaningless game. We'd already qualified to the playoffs. We couldn't go anywhere. And we asked Hereford if they'd mind if I'd come on for a few minutes. Hereford said not at all, because the actual gate was about 1,000 up. They only normally got about 1,500. I think it was 2,500 there. And when I arrived at the game, I had my wife driving me in, and we got lost in Wolverhampton, so I was half an hour late. And all the media were there, and I actually heard it on the 3 o'clock news. John Ryan's making his debut at Hereford. I thought, well, there can't be any news today, that's for sure. The second half came, we're losing 2-1, and I started warming up. And none of the players wanted to be sub for me, of course. I mean, it was like the ultimate insult. And so, amazingly enough, they scored 3 goals in 10 minutes, and we're winning 4-2 by the time I got on. So I reckon me warming up and down the touchline motivated them in a strange way. And of course I was getting all this abuse from the Hereford fans, and of course it turned to good banter because, come on, I'm going to give you a chance, I'm coming on, you know, and all this. And I think the ball went up for 3 minutes extra time. We were winning 4-2, so I came on, and the centre half came up to me and he said, I'm laughing and joking, the centre half came up to me and said, if you touch that flipping ball, I'm going to break your flipping legs. And I said to him, I said, just a minute. I said, I've been seeing your legs, like little spindly things. And he said, I've been seeing my legs, twice the size. I said, you'll end your career, mate. You know, all right. Anyway, I never did touch the ball. But the funny thing was, as we were walking off, I accidentally tripped the referee who went to book me. And he said, because I said jokingly to our players that I'm going to offer 10 grand to anyone passes me the ball and I score. And he said, you should have offered me that. You know? So it was a huge laugh, and everyone, you know, sort of had a great fun on the day, and I achieved my ambition. I didn't touch the ball, but I achieved my ambition, and I got on across the white line, got onto the pitch, and although it was only 2 or 3 minutes, you know, I'm in the Guinness Book of Records as the oldest professional footballer of all time. 52 years, 11 months.
The chairman did have to learn that when you become part of the squad, respect goes out of the window. But soon it was time for serious business, with Rovers in the first ever conference playoffs.
We played Chester in the playoffs. We drew 1-1. Tris Whitman scored a fantastic goal in the last minute to equalise 1-1. Then we went to Chester. I think they scored first, and then good old Barnsley equalised.
Tris Whitman, now Patterson. Chance to get his cross in now. It's Jamie Patterson. Good save from Brown. Off the bar, must be. Barnes scores. Doncaster Rovers are back in it. And the veteran player coach, remember the name, Paul Barnes.
Went to penalties, and Andy Warrington saved us in penalties, and we actually won on penalties to get through to Stoke, where we were due to play Dagenham and Redbridge in the final.
5 years after relegation, following that horrible final season in the Football League, Doncaster Rovers stand just 90 or maybe 120 minutes away from a return to the big time. Up against them today, Dagenham and Redbridge, perennially knocking on the door of the Football League.
Well, that was one of the greatest days, really, in many ways. Stoke's just down the road from where I live in Knutsford here, and you know, we had over 10,000 fans there. Dagenham had about 3,000, so there's about 13,000 there. And you know, it was our first real major cup final, I suppose, in a way.
Approaching the final 5 minutes of the first half. Doncaster have been well on top, but unable to get any goals to confirm their superiority. This is Cross with a cross, and there's Green! And Doncaster Rovers do lead with 6 minutes to the break. Well, Paul Green looks absolutely gobsmacked by that goal. Everybody converges on him to celebrate, and now he's smiling, and maybe Donny Rovers are heading back to the Football League. Well, it had been coming, it's thoroughly deserved. He'll get a yellow card for having taken his shirt off, but the quality of this cross from Cross is what this goal is all about. Still plenty of work there for Green to do, but he's bundled it in, having got in there just ahead of the defenders, who were a little bit statuesque. Cross with plenty of time to try to pick him out. They sort of bundled it in rather than a clean header, but they all count, and Doncaster Rovers lead. It's Rovers 1, Dagenham and Redbridge 0. Dave Penny, he wasn't sure if it was going in at first. He knows it is in there now. Decent looking corner. Oh, it's 2-0! And Doncaster Rovers have doubled the lead. It's David Morley, 10 minutes into the second half. It was almost blocked on the line, but the Rovers supporters are now starting to believe that they're heading back to the Football League. Well, it's a goal that Don Goodman would have been proud of himself. David Morley putting Rovers 2-0 up, and the fans are celebrating like they're already promoted. The goalkeeper was well beaten from that fine header. It was actually handled on the line. The defender would have been sent off, and it would have been a penalty. But that's all ifs, buts and maybes, because Morley's header is in the back of the net. It's 2-0. Well, Dave Penny can start to believe now. Don Goodman alongside him on the bench. They've been cool as cucumbers throughout. Doncaster in total control, but here's Steen, and Steen pulls one back, and Dagenham and Redbridge are right back in this final. Steve Watt knocked it down for the former Chelsea man, and the most experienced man on the park has given some hope to the boys from Essex. Well, it was just a long punt forward, good little knockdown, and clever control from Steen. Well, he's been doing that all his career. Tight angle, it's 2-1, and Doncaster Rovers may be facing a fight now to hang on to this victory. It's through to Mustafa, and there's a chance here as well. It's 2-2. Well, Doncaster Rovers have thrown away a golden 2-0 lead, and it's 2 apiece at the Britannia Stadium, and it's anybody's guess now who's going into the Football League. A priceless, priceless goal maybe for Dagenham and Redbridge. Andy Warrington beaten low down, and suddenly the initiative would appear to be with Dagenham and Redbridge. Well, Doncaster Rovers totally cut apart here. It was the ball in from Paul Terry towards Tarkan Mustafa that has done the initial damage. Lovely threaded ball, always hard to defend against, and Andy Warrington beaten going down low, but it's gone across him and into the far corner. It's game on at the Britannia now. We've got 12 minutes to go, and are we heading for a golden goal? Well, that'll feel like a golden goal in itself for Dagenham manager Gary Hill.
It went to the golden goal. In other words, whoever scored in extra time, that was the end of the game. You couldn't come back. And good old Sir Francis Tierney scored one of the greatest goals, as far as I'm concerned, that Doncaster Rovers ever scored. Probably equivalent to James Hayter's one at Wembley.
Never before has promotion been decided on a golden goal. It could be, though, today. It could be here. It is. It's game over, and Doncaster Rovers are promoted. It's Francis Tierney tapping it in. It was Paul Barnes' cross, and the season's work is now complete for Dave Penny and Doncaster Rovers. Well, Paul Barnes, the leading scorer this season, has provided one of the easiest goals that Fran Tierney will ever score in his life. and it means that Doncaster Rovers, having been 2-0 up, pegged back to 2-2, lead now by 3 goals to 2, and that goal signifies the end of the game. As golden a goal as you will ever find, and the fans come streaming onto the pitch, 10,000 or so of them here. Francis Tierney looks in an absolute dream world, but the fans know what it means to them. Commiserations for the defeated Dagenham and Redbridge. They'd fought back from 2-0 down. They were still in with a chance, but Doncaster are back in the big time. Doncaster 3, Dagenham 2. The Rovers return to the Football League.
It was just unconfined joy. I mean, we were all on the pitch, jumping around like, you know, like young people. It was one of the most wonderful occasions because we'd won it, then we almost lost it, then we finally won it. Doncaster Rovers always do things the hard way, and that was wonderful.
Dave Penny and Paul Barnes lift the trophy to confirm that Doncaster Rovers next season will be playing in Division 3.
When I became chairman of the club, I actually made 4 promises to the fans, foolhardy promises in those dark days of the conference. And I said I would get the club back into the league, I would get us to have a new stadium, I would get us to a major final, and the final one was I would get us back to the Championship where I first watched Doncaster Rovers back in 1958, just before they got relegated out of the Championship. And it was a great feeling for me because that was the biggest of the promises, to get them back into the Football League. You know, the boys were back in town, that was our song, we're back. And after 5 years almost in exile in the conference. That summer, we were joint favourites to get relegated from the Football League, along with Carlisle and York City. Carlisle and York City got relegated, and Doncaster Rovers at 33-1 won the Championship, even beating the highly fancied Hull City. And the reason we won that was because certain things happened that summer that went for us. First of all, just before the playoffs, we signed Greg Blundell, just down the road here at Northwich. He came to the house here and we got him signed up, and he was always a good goal scorer. And we always knew Greg would do well. Dave Penny went out and found Leo Fortune West, who was a great signing for us. And then, luck of all lucks, I was in Milan on holiday looking at players, and I got this phone call from Michael McIndoe's agent, a chap called Steve Dinos, and he said, would you be interested in signing Michael McIndoe? I said, well, of course I would be, but there's no chance of that. He's just gone up with Yeovil. There's no way he'll come to us. He said, hang on. And it took me back to the award ceremonies for the conference, where I got a nice, it's over there somewhere, I got a nice trophy for, you know, playing in the game at Hereford. But I actually went to the gents, and there was Michael McIndoe in full Scottish regalia, and I said, you're a great player, you played so well against us. God, we'd love to sign someone like you, but I don't suppose much chance of that. And, you know, we had a little conversation, that was the end of that. And I actually think Michael McIndoe remembered that conversation. Well, he did tell me he remembered the conversation. He fell out with Gary Johnson, asked his agent to ring up Donny and see if there's any interest. Steve Dinos got my number, and the next thing is Michael McIndoe was signed for £50,000, and I thought, wow, we're, you know, with Michael McIndoe, Greg Blundell and Leo Fortune West all added to what we already had was a good, you know, a good squad with people like Steve Foster and people like that, Andy Warrington. I really fancied us to do well.